Yeah, gotta aim for the top like.
What's up, guys? My name is Nate, and I'm the founder of KOYORIDE, and I do a lot of automotive videography here in the Chicagoland area. And the reason I did all this stuff was because no one does video around here, and so I wanted to be the first.
Head above water while the sun's getting hotter. I'm drowning round town in my down and out frown with no roundabout out to take. Piece of cake what I've been breaking in. Never felt alone, so I ain't never tried to go and make a
So one of the biggest inspirations why I started all this stuff had to have been like my love for cars and then my love for photography. But what really got me into like doing all this stuff, all this videography of cars, was I found these two YouTube channels. One of them was a guy named Skura Weekly, and the other one was a guy from Australia named Dated. And I've always been watching like cinematic car videos on YouTube from like other guys like Crispy Media, from Halcyon, from Schwa Films, and all those other guys out there. But Skura Weekly and Dated did their stuff completely different compared to all those other guys. They were doing stuff that I've never seen before, stuff that was like super chill, super laid back. Like the whole vibe of the video was just something that really caught my eye, and those are the guys that really inspired me to get on this whole camera bandwagon and start filming cars and stuff. And that's why a lot of my work is very, very similar to theirs, because I've fallen in love with their super chill style and their unique videography skills. And that's why a lot of my videos are really built off the core of something different and something that's new and creative that people haven't seen before. So before all this camera stuff and all this videography stuff, I was actually a tech for Audi, hence, why I drive an A3. I was there for a couple years. After high school, I went to automotive school, and I was still, at that time, I was still kind of playing around with video work. I was filming my friends' cars at tech school. It was an auto school, so everybody had like, a cool car to goof around with. I had, really cheap camera. Whatever I had at the time was what I had. We just went around, we just had fun with it. And then it kind of slowed down after I started working at Audi. I was super busy with work. I finally had a job, so I finally had, decent income, so I was able to really get myself some decent gear. And so, what we're filming with now is the Sony a7R II, and it's been my main go-to camera for, I'd say almost the past 3 years, the long I've been doing this. And it's honestly, it's a fantastic camera. And I've been at Audi for a few years, and when the COVID pandemic hit, things kind of took a dive bomb, and it wasn't something that I saw myself doing for the rest of my life, because it was a very unstable job. And especially when the COVID pandemic hit, nobody was bringing their cars in for service, nobody was on the road, and it really opened up my eyes, because I was able to see that, like, hey, there can be times where you have no people coming into work, and it was a commission-based job too, so it wasn't, luckily I was hourly, but my next step was to go commission. And when there's no cars in and there's no work to do, there's no money to be made. So it was in March of 2021, which at the time of this video was last year, March, I decided that I was gonna retire my, my mechanic tools and just save it more as a hobby and actually go back to college and get a different degree. And that's currently what I'm doing now. So a lot of the camera stuff that I'm doing now, it's more summer hobby for me, and if I have, you know, time in the winter, I'd love to do it in the winter as well. We'll see how far it goes. Automotive didn't last as long as I thought it would, but maybe the videography might boom in a few years. Who knows? So for a dream car, I have two. Let's start off with my European dream car, because I have one European dream car and then I have one Japanese dream car. For the European dream car, this is something that we actually never got here in America, and it is a 1995 or 94 or 95, I don't remember the year specifically, but it's an Audi RS2 Avant. So Avant is how the Germans call their station wagons. So it's a 5-cylinder turbo station wagon, and that is the car that really like set the 5-cylinder stage for Audi back in the 90s. Like that was their first RS model car. It was their first 5-cylinder like collaboration with Porsche. So a lot of the parts were built by Porsche, the brakes, a couple of the engine components, and it was a station wagon, and it was really cool. And we never got it. We got a lot of the Audi 5-cylinder stuff, like the S6, the older S6, older URS4, URS6, some of the Coupe Quattros, the 200s, the 90s, all 5-cylinder stuff. And then after about like 1996 or 97, Audi stopped making the 5-cylinder. And then they brought it back for the RS3 and the TTRS, but those aren't station wagons. Whereas in Europe, they got the RS2, and there's guys pushing 1,000 horsepower easy on those cars because they're just built so well, and they look cool. It's a wagon. I have a super special place in my heart for wagons, especially like on some nice wheels and lowered. Man, they look so good. And then you go across the fence to Japan. My dream car from there would definitely have to be a S14 Silvia, right-hand drive Silvia. Like, we never got the Silvia here in the States. The S14 for me is one of my favorite body style. S15 is cool, but I enjoy the more rounded, blobby look of the Zenki front end. I'm a big Zenki fan. Everybody likes the Koki. I personally don't. Everyone's like, oh, the Zenki looks too much like the R33, but I was like, dude, not many people do the Zenki. That's why it's so cool, because it's like, it's not as sought after. Everybody wants the Koki. Like, dude, like, you know, do something that someone hasn't done before. And it's kind of funny because one of my big inspirations, Skura Weekly, his like project car is an S14 that he did an OEM build on, like an OEM plus build. And that's exactly the kind of build I want to do, like something OEM, something that's super chill. And it's like super minimal, but it just screams clean. And for me, that's something that I wish I really, really had. So the way I came up with the name KOYORIDE was, I had a couple YouTube channels before this one. One of the first ones I had was no, it was If It Has Wheels, and that was like a channel, a whole separate channel, back when I was in high school, and I was, you know, filming high school car meets and stuff at the time. And then I made another channel, I called it VW because that was a few years later, after like I was, you know, a good year into tech school. I had a Volkswagen Golf R, and my cousin had a Golf GTI, and we were gonna do some like videos on that. It didn't last as long as I thought it was, and like it didn't last too long, and that's when I decided that I wanted to start fresh. After I wanted to get serious and I bought the camera, I bought the gear, you know, I eventually got the A3 as my daily driver because I was still a tech at Audi at the time. After I got the gear, I really wanted something that was fresh. I wanted something that was new, something that was, you know, a name that no one's ever heard of and something that would stick with people. And I wanted it to reflect the kind of quality of videos, and because I was shooting for really, really high quality video, I wanted a name that sounded like pretty professional. And so I wanted the word ride in there because I wanted something that people could look at and it's like, hey, you know, I was part of that ride, you know, like, let's go enjoy the ride. That was one of the mottos I came up with, enjoy the ride, you know. It's me, you, and whoever's cars we're filming. And so I wanted something that people would remember. And so I came up with a list. I used a bunch of random name generators on the internet to just come up with a bunch of things. Like, I put the word ride in there. I wanted like the word cars. I wanted something in there. And part of me kind of like wanted it to seem more on the JDM side, just because for some reason, at least here in Illinois, the JDM fan base is a lot bigger than the Euro fan base. And so if I was going to be filming more like Japanese cars, I wanted something that sounded more like Japanese. And so we were running through a bunch of random name generators, coming up with names. It took us maybe about 3 hours of just random name generating, come up with something that was catchy. And at the time, my cousin still had the Miata, and he was looking at Miata parts. He's like, man, I was looking at random generators, and he was like, man, should I get a Mishimoto or a KOYORIDE? And I was like, Mishimoto is a lot cheaper than KOYORIDE. And I was like, KOYORIDE? KOYORIDE? I was like, dang. I was like, dude, what if I take the Koyo part from KOYORIDE, but instead of rad, I put ride? Don't sue me, KOYORIDE, please. And so after he like looked at the KOYORIDE radiator, I was like, dang, dude, I think that's the one. I was like, what do you think of KOYORIDE? And he was like, dude, I think that's the one. And so we rolled with it. After we got the name, I spent the next couple of days like messing around in Adobe Illustrator, just trying to draw some logos and stuff, like how I could make it work, what kind of logos, what kind of colors would work good. And I eventually settled with a simple white logo on a black background with a, it's not like a hot pink, but it's more like a salmon colored ring around it. And then that was my logo. Super simple, something that people would remember, and if they see it, they're like, oh shoot, that's the KOYORIDE logo. And it's plastered on all my videos. And again, it drew inspiration from Dated and Skuro Weekly because their logos were also just plain white text on a black background. So one thing one piece of advice I could give out to people who are kind of wanting to jump into photography, wanting to jump into video, is you gotta have the drive to do it. You can't just buy the camera and just expect to be good. You have to put in that effort. You really have to like go out there. When I was starting, for example, I didn't have anybody's cars to film. I had my own. First couple videos, just go out, practice with the camera, practice the settings, mess around with the dials, mess around with all the modes, figure out what things do. And it's that practice, that repetition, that keep on going, like keep moving forward attitude, like, you know, not to quote TJ Hunt, but like keep moving forward, just keep doing it. Even if you think a video sucks, even if you think these pictures sucks, just put them out there, keep going. And like the more you do it, the better you'll get. You'll start figuring out what works with your camera. You'll start figuring out what settings are good, what things you should do, what things you shouldn't do, what pieces of gear you'll need. Like, I've been doing, for real, I've been doing video for like 8-9 years, and I didn't start getting good until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because I didn't get serious until about 2 or 3 years ago. Same thing with video, guys. Like, don't stop. Even if you think your videos are trash, go back and watch some of my very first videos. They are awful, like straight up terrible. You know, I didn't start as good as I am now. And so you just got to keep going at it, man. Don't let people put you down. Go out, ask people, hey, can I take videos of your car? Can I take pictures of your car? Go to car meets, because you get a lot of good quality stuff. And at that time, you know, you don't have to ask people, all the cars are parked there. Go out, film, take pictures, like just keep doing it. And eventually the skill will come. Once you have the skill and you start getting limited on like what your camera can do, then start looking into gear, start looking into cameras that can shoot 4K, cameras that can shoot, you know, 60 frames a second, and so on and so forth. And it's like, go out to car meets, you know, get to know people, get to know other guys that are doing photo, get to know other guys that are doing video. Chances are they are more than willing to help you, like, figure out what works, what doesn't work, like what gear is good. You know, before I had the Sony camera, I had a Canon camera, and I absolutely love Canon, but I love Sony, you know, just as much. And it's, you got to find what works for you. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody has a different style. Don't go copying other people. That's another piece of advice I can go. You gotta be unique. Yes, it takes effort to be unique. Yes, it's a little bit trickier, but once you find that special niche that you're in, once you find that right color grade, that right video, like, you know, you're someone to be reckoned with. And I guess the final piece of advice that I could give would definitely be originality. Be original, you know. It's good to draw inspiration from others. It is very good because that's, you know, it's what's the start of getting creative juices flowing. And try something new. Don't be afraid to try something new. If it works, then it works. If it doesn't work, then try something else. You know, what's the worst that'll happen? It just won't look as good. Maybe you don't think it looks good. Maybe someone else thinks it looks good. Shoot, when I was trying something new, I was trying to do like a light mode to dark mode thing where I had a guy pull out his phone. He pulled out the iPhone, like has the light mode and dark mode. He pushed dark mode. We went from a cut from his car in the daytime to a cut when it was nighttime. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought it was okay because I kind of messed up some stuff, but you never know. Maybe someone's watching and they think your work is awesome. And it's all that feedback that just helps you drive to keep on going forward. Yeah, so I just want to thank Serge from Fullydrivn for giving me this opportunity for the interview. Now, I've never been interviewed before, so this was kind of a first for me and him. And I've never really had someone like, you know, film and vlog while I was filming, so it's kind of a cool experience. So hopefully this video goes far. I hope, you know, all of his watchers are learning something from me, because we all have a little bit to learn, you know. We're all in this together, all the video guys, all the media guys. Man, we got to stick together because there's a lot of cars to film and I can't just do it by myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, go follow my stuff. I go youtube.com/KOYORIDE. It's like I made a custom URL on Instagram, same thing, KOYORIDE. YouTube and the Instagram are pretty much my bread and my butter. Instagram gets the little short teasers, YouTube gets the full force of my videos, man. We're talking the full-length features that are what you want to watch. Reels are cool, but dude, you got to check out the full-length videos. That's where it's at.
One shot, that's all that you got. That's all that I know.